If you have a 2011 to 2016 BMW 5 Series and you find the ride height on the rear of your vehicle is almost bottomed out, it's likely due to a broken spring. It's an easy job to do yourself, just takes a little bit of muscle, and we're going to do that now. In my case, I heard a loud bang, and I saw my wheel looking like this, and I knew I had a broken spring. We start off by taking the wheel off the vehicle. I have a lift, which makes this job very easy for me, but it's doable with jacks. If you do use that, just make sure you use these rubber pads so that you can use the correct lifting point. Once I got the wheel off, I could see right away that spring is just sheared at the bottom. We're going to replace both sides. The job is pretty easy, straightforward. Behind this grill, there's a speaker. There's 3 little Torx screws. Then behind that, there's a little piece of foam. You move that to the side and you find 3 bolts, 3 nuts up top. And then you just have the 1 bolt down here. Once you undo that, this entire assembly can just come up and out. Easy in the process. The effort, however, is a little bit difficult because you've got to get that up and over this control arm and this trailing arm. Now, some people I've seen will disconnect this trailing arm and move it out of the way. But you can actually get it up and over. You just have to disconnect the clips that hold that wire harness and push it out of the way, and then use something for leverage, I use a 4-foot bar to push down enough to get that unit up and out. Now the bolt at the bottom of the strut isn't in a bad spot. You just don't have a lot of clearance, but with a good 1/2-inch ratchet and extension, you should be able to get in here and break it free. And once it breaks free, I found for both sides, it came out by hand, and that was pretty nice. Once you have that bolt out, you're going to want to just separate it. For me, they kind of stayed in there. So you separate this little joint from the bottom of the strut into the control arm, and then you can go up top and remove the 3 nuts that hold it in. Now this is a bit of German engineering that I actually like. The top part is pretty simple. You want to move your headrest. You're going to want to take a plastic tool to pop out the grill. You can use a screwdriver, but better off using something that won't mar the surfaces. You pop this off, you'll see a speaker with 3 Torx screws. You take those off, take the speaker out, put it to the side. You don't even have to unplug the speaker. There's a piece of foam there, some insulation. If you move that, you'll see the top of the strut and the 3 bolts that hold it in. Something to note, there's layers of sheet metal back here, and so when you're taking off these nuts, you've got to be careful. If you happen to drop one in between those layers, it might be just gone into the ether with all the 10mm sockets. So if you get one that slides in like I did, you might be able to get it out with a little magnet. If not, you're going to have to end up replacing these, so use caution when taking them out. Once you pull the strut down, you can get it over to the side, get it over as much as you can, and you're going to see that you can't get past this trailing arm here. So that's when you need to use some sort of long breaker bar. I used a piece of like 4-foot black pipe. I ended up having to use a 4-foot wrecking bar for extra strength on the one side. But you're going to want to just thread that through the control arm and find a good sturdy spot to put it on, push down on it to give you the clearance to get it up and over. Putting it back in is going to be the same exact way. Remember now, this car, the struts they have a designation, right or left. They don't spin, so they're clocked to a certain spot. So you're going to want to use the right one. The top, the 3 bolts, they're not symmetrical, they're not a perfect triangle. So it only goes in one way. This is a job that is really useful to have a second hand here, so it's easy to do this when you have another person. You're going to want to have them help you thread this strut through, get it into place somewhat, get the top of this strut into the tower a little bit, and then you're going to want to come and with this bar put some leverage and just have someone else help you get it up and over so it's centered over the back of that wheel hub. Pay attention here to the bottom of the strut. There's a joint that can only kind of go in one way into the wheel carrier. So you want to orient that properly. It's going to be out towards facing you. You should have like a little sticker or maybe like a little mark of paint that kind of guide you as well, like as you can see here. But once you get that in place, wiggle this, spin it a little bit, and you should feel the top of that strut, the 3 bolts, go through the holes. Once you do that, come up top and just loosely put those 3 nuts on. Not even hand tight, just loose enough to hold that strut in place, but you're going to want to be able to manipulate it, twist it a little bit, move it, so that you can line up properly the bottom of the strut when it's time to put that bolt in. This is where you come back and have someone really pull down on this carrier to give you that clearance, let you get the back of this strut on. Make sure that the strut is seated into the carrier before you try to thread the bolt on. You don't want to cross thread that at all. It's got to be perfectly lined up. Once you do that, though, it went in by hand most of the way, and then it just went back up underneath and torqued it down. The torque setting for that, by the way, is 122 foot-pounds. Once you get that locked in, go up top and tighten those 3 nuts down, and they're at 21 foot-pounds. All that's left is getting that insulation back in place. Speaker goes in with those 3 Torx screws, grill gets popped back in, and the headrest goes on. I like making these videos to show how easy it is to do some of these things on your own, and of course to save money while doing it. Some of the things I've used, I have links below. Check them out. If you use my links, I will earn a whole 17 cents.